Thank you for waiting. Now we will have the opening lecture, and the chair for this session is Professor Osamu Yokosuka. Professor Yokosuka, please start.
Now, I'm going to chair the opening lecture by Professor Masao Omata. Professor Omata is now present Yamanashi Central and Kita, this means North Hospitals. Professor Emeritus, the University of Tokyo. First of all, I would like to stress that Professor Omata has made effort to revitalize an apostle with Professor Salin and others, for the last 10 years. Constitution of apostle was changed, and apostle meeting was changed from biannual to annual, and single topic conferences were started. He is a co-editor-in-chief of the Hepatology International, an official journal of ours. About the careers, he graduated from Chiba University School of Medicine and started his work under Professor Okuda Kunio. And he continued his training at Yale University. His boss was Kratskin, and in the liver unit at University of Southern California under Professor Peters. After 6 years in US, he returned to the Department of Medicine at Chiba University in 1989 and started molecular biological work on hepatitis B virus. In 1992, he became chairman of the second Department of Internal Medicine at University of Tokyo, Japan, and then subsequently became chairman of Department of Gastroenterology. Under his leadership, the Department of Gastroenterology have become one of the foremost centers in this field. Now, he is the president of 2 hospitals at Yamanashi, west of Tokyo, where, although scenery placed with Mount Fuji, hepatitis virus infection is epidemic, and his homeland. He and his colleagues have published 1,257 articles in English literature, including 5 New England Journal of Medicine, 6 Lancet, 6 Annual Internal Medicine, 59 Hepatology, and 43 Gastroenterology. The total impact factor is 13,354, and citations are 60,000, with age index of 122 as of July 1st, 2022. Amazingly, he is having a happy family life with Mrs. Kyo Omata, and with 3 children and 5 grandchildren. And despite such a busy days, today he's going to talk real-world data on eliminations and cure of HCV-SCC. As always, we can expect a novel and interesting lectures. Professor Omata, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yokosuka. Very not complicated, very detailed introduction, even my families. But I'm, frankly speaking, I'm 78 years old. So maybe if there is some kind of misinformation I convey, I'm sorry about that. But as he mentioned, as an opening lecture before the President, Dr. Shina, I may be allowed to introduce what's about the Apostle, because I graduated medical school 53 years ago, and the Apostle have the activity of 45 years. During those days, especially inauguration is by Kunio Kuda and also Rory Powell from Australia. They started the meeting in Singapore in 1978. But it was a biannual meeting because Asia is so widespread. We cannot get each other by every 2 years. So we took initiatives in 2005 with Shibusarin and many of the steering committee members, three initiatives made biannual meeting to annual, and the secondary starting a single topic conferences rotating area to area in Asia, and the Nature Springers now publish Hepatology International. Then the participant of the annual meetings is Fukuoka by Dr. Yano, Professor Yano, and Taipei Yuhan Liao, and Delhi Shibusarin, and Bali Lesmana. This time he's absent, but he did wonderful one in Bali, and Manila, Dr. Solano, and then Kyoto, myself, and then Seoul, DJ Su here, and also Hong Kong, George Lau, and also the Beijing, the Jidong Zhao, and then Bangkok, the Tira did a wonderful meeting there too. In the Taipei, Dr. Kao, and then Brisbane, Crawford. He's absent, but he had a wonderful one in the Southern Pacific. And also Istanbul joined as a new members. Dr. Dogmeji is he is a mentor of many of the students in Turkey, so he did a wonderful meeting in Turkey. And then Tokyo again, Dr. Yokosuka here had a wonderful one in Japan. And then he the remark, 5,228 attendance held by Shanghai, the Professor Jinlin Hao. Then Manila again, Diana Payawal, and then Bali is Rino Gani, and then Bangkok, Tawandi, and then Seoul, JMO Yang. He's absent, but he did a wonderful one despite the COVID-19. And then Taipei, Dr. Lin, Professor Lin did it. So by these many meetings, there are several phases. As I mentioned, the time of the biannual meeting, the attendance was 1,300. But by doing annual meeting, we are getting closer and closer and becoming more friendly. And then we had 3,900 average attendance. But again, we had the COVID-19, but we continue the activities. And what's about in Kyoto? I think I am guessing, and also maybe Shina is guessing more, but we'll see. But during these days, we had the contribution of the many countries, especially accumulated number from China is the biggest, 12,000. And then secondary to it is 4,600 from Japan, 4,290 from India, Taiwan, and Philippines. So everybody contributed. And by these contributions, we are able to have annual meeting continue. But on top of it, we started the single topic conferences because annual meeting it's nice, but the continent, the Asia is so widespread. So we decided in the educational purpose, we started the single topic conference. And for 16 years, we had 47 times, in average, maybe 2-3 times a year. In fact, 2022, in the COVID era, we had 8 single topic conferences. And the areas to area, of course, there is a difference of participants, such as from the 275 in Calcutta to 1,500, same in India. But this is more important because, first of all, people don't know much about our Apostle, but educational purposes, as I said, we got to do things continuously in places, different places in Asia. And then what we have done in the COVID-19, where Tokyo Secretariat supported many of the webinar seminars, and thanks to the EASL, thanks to the ASLD, there are many members contributed according to the title of the talks. And then we enjoy that too. So we are able to continue our activity even during the COVID-19. Then back to the liver diseases. It's obvious, as already mentioned by the Ji Dong-jae this morning, we are suffering a lot. Our patients suffering a lot. 90% live in Asia. The mission of us, of course, virus elimination, but also as a consequences, we got to do something on the cirrhosis and cancers. Now time has come. It was said, we have so many patients. Maybe we are the sleeping giant. We might not be awake enough for the sake of patients yet. First of all, HBV, how we tackled. Well, just very personal, but I graduated medical school and joined the Chiba Okuda department and went to Yale, and then moved to the USC Los Angeles, and then joined the R.L. Peters. First paper I published was 1978 on the occult infection HBV, and the relation between the HBV and the hepatocellular in the States, because in those days there was so much of the alcohol liver disease in the States. So this is a kind of first documentation clinically, the relation between the HBV. Those days, there is no such a thing like a citation. So if there is a citation, if it's cited in the textbook, I mean, it's kind of the memorial things. And then there is a textbook called the Harrison textbook, Internal Medicine. And then there was a citation, in fact, 11 papers cited in the Principle of Internal Medicine in 1983, 10th edition. Well, it's a memorable thing because the first paper I published was quoted in the Harrison textbook. And then that includes Palmer Beasley. This is a famous epidemiological study on relation between the B and the hepatocellular carcinoma occurrence, and Brescia, integrants, Johnson, and Klaskin tumor. And also Shafritz, this is the first documentation about the integration of HBV DNA into the cancers. And Sumunes, also epidemiological stuff he published. So, but I thought if I stay, and wonderful to be in the States, but I worried about my DNA buried in the land of the USA. So I went back to Japan and then started molecular biology of HBV in 1979. But it's a scratch, from a very, very scratch, because there are no teachers around. So I went back to the United States and then learned how to extract the DNA. Then Dr. Yokosuka joined from England. And then, do you know what's a cccDNA? We still struggling about this one. We can get rid of this one. So that's why HBV could not be eradicated. You never see the cccDNA. This is a cccDNA. Sorry about the dark staining behind, but those are the days that Southern blotting just got started. This is a covalently crossed or supercoiled DNA. They are so resistant to the treatment. That's why only the species of the supercoiled DNA migrated so enough, then you can identify it. After that, we are struggling with that. And SCB, how we tackled. Maybe not many youngsters knows about this, but there are so many long days of non-A, non-B post-transfusion acute hepatitis. In the older blood transfusion, 10% developed abnormal transaminases. So that's we followed in the Chiba University, I was back there. Then 90% are having abnormal ALT elevation continuously, but nobody knows why. Then we started this clinical trial. Meantime, 1989, fragment of DNA discovered by Michael Houghton. So we set up immediately the PCR assays and then found this normalization of ALT is concordant with the disappearance of the cbRNA. I think this took 3-4 years. So this is actually the study started before the discovery and ended ending by showing absence or disappearance of the cbRNA by short-term interferon therapy. 10 years after, German people reported in New England Journal the same thing, not just post-transfusion, but drug addicts, the acute hepatitis. It's so easy to cure, but there was a long-lasting time using only the interferon, and we couldn't cure. Maybe we can cure only 10%. 1990, from Chiba to University of Tokyo, I moved, and we started the department. Actually, I'm responsible for the department, but gastroenterology group is very small because it's mainly the cardiovascular department. But somehow we got to start it, and this indicates clearly what's been done. Dr. Shina started from 20 cases, and then we are gradually growing, and then ended up 1,000 cases a year, which is 20 cases we had tumor. So I'm sure 100% that Shina will present what's happened about these matters. Incredible numbers of the cases we treated in the department of gastroenterology. And then also there is a department of surgery there, second department of surgery, Dr. Makuuchi. If there is a surgeon here, everybody knows his name. So we are really competing, and then many patients came, not just Japan, but also all over the world. But because the ablation is for the small cancers, so we need another hospital. It's called the Kondo Hospital. So we set up, and by rotating, that's why we can make a treatment for the 1,000 cases a year. Dr. Obi is doing mostly a TSCE. So then, after 17 years, I moved to the Yamanashi Central Hospital, where I was born in 2009. Well, let me show the Yamanashi where it's about. Well, it's west of Tokyo, then University of Tokyo down here, and Chiba University. So I'm commuting back and forth between the east and west in these areas. But Yamanashi is surrounded by Mount Fuji. And in a sense, it's easier to do something to especially epidemiologically matters. And in fact, after I moved, we did the pivotal trial. And then now, this is a kind of a national paper, try to convince the people now we can cure the viruses. Heisei era edit. Then the total elimination project, especially near zero. WHO set up a 2030 target, very high standard. But anyhow, we also doing these near zero programs in our area. And then this is a picture, and the density indicates occurrence in this incidence of hepatocellular carcinoma. Mostly in the western part of Japan, there is a more high incidence area of hepatocellular carcinoma, but interestingly enough, or unfortunately enough, our area is the highest in the eastern part of Japan. The reason is we had Schistosomiasis japonica. So after the World War II, we did a lot of intravenous infusion, and the infections for SCV prevailed. So governor asked me 3 things. Why don't you get things out? In other words, improve the treatment, and then the epidemiological, improvement about these matters. And then secondly, financial matters, and get the youngsters more into the hospital. So I had 3 missions. And this is, so we are able to conduct SCV endemic studies. And then this is one of the pivotal studies done in Japan those days with Dr. Mizokami in 2013. And then all the patients can be treated from 2015. And then if I take a look at Japan, the total population is 120 million. Our area is only 0.8 million or 8,000 K. And then YCH, our hospital, established in 1876, maybe the oldest in Japan. But we also have the medical records for these 50 years. Out of 800,000 population, we have a medical record of 589, which is comparable to 73.6%. But 8,000 population is a current population. So for 50 years times, we may have more, every year, the people dying 9,000. So if you times 50 to 9,000, it's almost 500K. So altogether, we have 800 plus 500K divided, 589 divided by 13,000 K, that can be 40%. But anyhow, we have a medical record. We can check every single patient, the SCV, but not everybody tested like SCV. And even though SCV AGB positive, they don't measure the RNA. Therefore, we did a survey. How much SCV testing rate done among these 588,000 cases in the last 50 years. And this is the instance where it used to be like less than 40%. Recently, it was peaked to almost up to 40%, so the average is 20%. I may say that if the patient come from the local areas, 20% tested for HCV-AB. How much percent will be positive for that? Well, if you take a look at this one, it used to be a 4.8% positive for antibodies, but nowadays it's down to 1.6%. Well, how do you judge? But even though it's positive, how much RNA tested? Well, among those HCV-AB positive cases, 46.4% from 46.4% to the 20.6% down. So then among those RNA tested, how much positive for how much are positive HCV RNA? And it turned out that amazingly 64.9% still positive. So by calculations, and if we overcome these, like of those in 50 years, 588,000 AB tested, again, repeat, 20%. And then among those positive, RNA tested 32.9%. So end up, we found 896 patients. But if I say to the people, convince the people, 100% testing for every single patient who came in the local areas, and also, if positive, I recommend do the RNA testing, or if you can do the simultaneous testing antibody and RNA, end up with like 14.9 times, 13,000 patients, still positive. But this is all time 50 years. How about recent years? After the year introduced, 2015 to 2029 years, 109,000 came to YCH, AB tested 36% improved, not really improved, but improved, and the RNA tested 28%. So even by this, 149 patients in 9 years' time, but if you do both, 100%. And then do you think this is practical? I think it's practical because now the testing for the antibody is 40% now. So why don't you do the rest of the 60%? And then if we have a testing system to simultaneously measure RNA and antibodies, we can pick up 1,040. So overall, how we can predict areas instance changes. And then more importantly, I check my the internal things. In other words, which department does what? And then there is a lot of division difference. On the left-hand side, there is, this is a gastroenterology department. They do RNA testing, they know that. But look at these emergencies. Well, for the emergency people, I mean, it's in a hurry. No need to test. They don't make me like I want to do the RNA testing. So, but still I may convince later on if we have saved their life, why don't you test RNA or check the fibrosis, or fibroscanning? But anyhow, we have not done anything, any message we deliver, but I will do it right away after I came back. But anyhow, we are in the front line. We are taking 100% of the most severe cases by choppers, emergencies, upfront hospital, general hospital, 150 years old. So maybe by this data, we can clear our virus near zero in 40% of the local populations. How about SCC? There is running out of time, so I will be quick. WHO set a very high standard, 2030 goal, 30% mortality reductions. Well, we attained that. Year 2010 provisional target, we minus 40 because 2002 we got 35,000 deaths out of 120 million. Now it's down to the 24,000. So we go way beyond the target, minus 30%. So I have our real world data because we happen to have Japan-wide government designated cancer registry 25 times, 39,000 every single year. We are checking the patient's life and death because the government helped us to check. So the follow-up rate is 99.3%. And by this, we know the real world data, whether the champion data of the trial can really influence of the patient's the lifetimes. And take a look at every 3 years of the SCC. Just by briefly, it's obvious it's improving from year 2007 to year 2019. Every 3 years we check that. But please look at the history again. The 11th edition published in 1988, we have Liu-Han Liao's paper, Brescio, and Hans Popper's paper, and then Tanzou Yu. Tanzou Yu, the paper is quoted in this textbook. I'm very happy enough to my mentor together, Omata Okuda, and especially this study of 850, this is a pivotal, most cited paper in the area of the hepatocellular carcinoma, critical. And what he said, it's a median survival, 800 patients, regardless of stage, was 4.1 months. This is 40 years ago. Now, look at our clinical data. This is a RWD, over hospital, pivot, the continuously checking for 16 years prospectively. Well, median survival time, not 41 months, but there is a sluggish time until 2015. It's obvious sorafenib has nothing to do with this length of the life, but maybe background DAA might have influenced. And then, obviously, this morning, George Lau gave a very beautiful presentation about new systemic therapies. So we are expecting and we are checking on the effect of our patients in the front line. Let us introduce lung cancers. Lung cancer is remarkable in a sense. There are two types of cancer, molecular targeting drugs, osimertinib, and then IO. So they are maybe a bit ahead of us. And then this is MST. Not reached, there are 6 periods, it's not reached yet, 50% mortality. So we are trying to catch up the lung cancer by some means. But this is a national, local, longitudinal RWD. So how about step up the, on the basis of our person? So I called the colleagues and the international RWD made up the person. AHOC study, Apostle Hepatology Oncology Consortium. Last year, we had this four meetings. Last year, April, and then June, and then August, and then this year, the February. And then, fortunately enough, we have a northern area, Mongolia joining, a southern area, Indonesia, and the western area, the Turkey, and also Japan and China joined this consortium. This is just begun. So I showed the 2 slides only. But 2023, in March, we got the IR approval from Yamanashi Central Hospital. And since then, until now, 3,450 registered from 17 hospitals. Then I show a single slides because tomorrow we're going to have a session. This is how the drugs used. And then here is a TKI, mostly sorafenib, and the other TKI here. But this area, this part, is so many different IOs. So we can watch what's going on real time. And everybody can join this one. In other words, you can take, if you deposit, take it out and analyze. So this system may help to what's going on in Asia, especially the areas of the hepatocellular carcinoma. So tomorrow, March 29, 3 p.m. at room 2, we have a comprehension of Asian SCC by AHOC studies, and then about APASTOR SC guidelines. So finally, I really appreciate all those people. This is a time of the Chiba, Dr. Yokosuka on the left-hand side, and Okuda in the middle, and also the son of Okuda, Imazaki Sensei, and myself. And also, this is a University Tokyo era. Even though it started at 10 people, it's grown up. The Shina Sensei is just in the center of the pictures anyhow. And then now the Yamanashi era. Actually, my position is like how to direct to the 2,000 employees and then thinking about. So I'm still have to work many hours. So I really appreciate for all the audiences and then talking about not just the long journey of the apostle, but also my personal journey. I hope still continue. 谢谢. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mata. We are very much impressed by your lecture, especially the history of Apostle and also the recent work on AHOC. That's an Apostle Hepatology Oncology Consortium, and also the real-world data on 30,000 cancer patients of various kinds. And I hope these AHOC and other works will increase their significance in near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Omata and Professor Yokosuka.